Hey guys, welcome to the second part of the How to Order Your First Rig series that we're putting out. And today we're going to review options. What options are on those order forms, what they mean, and what they look like. Let's get to it. All right, guys, welcome back. So today we're going to start discussing options. When you get that order form and you want to start filling that order form for your harness and container system, you are bombarded with a ton of questions of what options you want on your container. I'm going to start aside of the canopies, the main and reserve canopy, that there's usually the first two fields you get on an order form. I'll leave that for last. But the first one that I get a lot of questions about is what type of risers should I get? What you will see mostly in most sport harness and container systems would be mini risers, which are the type 17 with mini rings. So something like this. And you will find this all around on your sport rigs. Unless it is a big boy rig and you have bigger risers, that will be the type 8. And you can see the difference right here, type 17, type 8. You definitely want the type 17. I just wanted to show you the main difference on the sizing on both and what to pick. So go with type 17 unless you're really heavy, like a heavier person, and you need a wider, bigger rig. Then I would definitely recommend going with the type 8 risers, which are highly recommended. But all the rest, type 17, and the length of the risers will be determined based off of your measurements. But there are some standards measurements on the form. Some go from 18, 20s, 22s, 24s. Usually the standard goes depending on the manufacturer. Manufacturers have different standard lengths, so one would be 18s or 19s, and some are 20, 21s. We'll go in between 20s and 22s depending on how long your arms are and how easy you want to reach up to your slider once your canopy is flying. Okay, so we're going to start showing you some options. In this case, I got one of our customers' full rig here, so I can show you. You can see here, you can see the main risers, type 17 risers. This one has black hardware option all around. You can see all the black hardware in the articulation as well. So this is a perfect example of harness and container system that has all the bells and whistles. So let's take a closer look at all the options that this one have and compare it to a different one which has pretty much all the bells and whistles but from a different manufacturer. Okay, so what we want to show you here is, first you can see, like I said before, you have black hardware all over. You have your black hardware even on the shackle for your RSL. This one, you can see that it's a free fly friendly container because you have your cutaway and reserve handles are pillows. The cutaway always is a pillow, but your reserve is a free fly soft handle. The same for your main deployment handle. It's a free fly pud. Okay, so that will be what it looks like. This one has the reserve handle, and this is something that's proprietary for UPT or vector containers. You have the option of the steel cable, or you have the Spectra cord. I personally, this is my personal opinion, I don't like the Spectra cord. I like the steel cable that goes all the way through the housing. It's just, I just prefer that. But you have that option. This one has a sky hook, and that works for an RSL. You can pick either one, RSL or sky hook. The sky hook needs an RSL to work with, so either option is favorable. In this case, you have the option of magnetic riser covers, and you can see them here. You have magnets on both sides, and this just tucks into that. Or you have the option of tuck tabs, which basically is a flap that goes over and tucks into the flap underneath. Magnetics, I prefer them. It's just easier, and they don't get worn out in time. And then that plastic stiffener inside the tuck tab In time, we'll shape to the same curve, and then it won't hold as good as it used to. Then you have, this one has a special design. This is a lightning split design. As you can see here, you have a two color split design. But if you have the standard, you will have some stripes here, which you can do different colors on. And then you have in between the stripes, you will have a little really thin stripe, or piping as it's called. That's another option that you can just select colors. And I'll show you another option, another example of that with custom embroidery. This one has special embroidery here on the reserve flap. But then you can see that you can do split colors. The trim tape, for those who don't know what this trim tape is, the trim tape basically is the edge of every panel. In a split design, you get two colors. In a full, like say one color design, you can pick whatever color the trim tape is. Also, that depends on whatever is available. For the padding, in this case, you can see padding here is spacer foam all around. The spacer foam goes over your shoulders, your back, lower back, and it stabilizes, and of course the leg pads. So this will be the spacer foam padding. There are different options. This is a standard for like the standard type for most spacer foams. Some will do it in the center. It depends on the manufacturer, but that's what the spacer foam padding looks like. This is as comfort. I highly recommend it, especially if you have full fitting canopies. I recommend getting spacer foam. All right, so we have another example here. This one, I will show you the articulation. A articulated harness, basically, as you can see here, is a harness that actually moves. It's not a stiff harness. You have, in this case, you have chest and hip rings. So it articulates at the hip and at the chest. This gives you more mobility, a little bit more comfort, but it depends on what type of discipline. If you're free flying, I would not recommend, and this is personal preference, I would not recommend chest rings. I would just recommend the hip rings, because you want mobility, but you don't want the harness or the container to move against you. You want it to move with you. So hip rings would be the way to go. In this case, you can see there is a really narrow chest strap compared to the other one I have here, which is the 2-inch chest strap. Wide one, and you get the narrow one. That's another option. Some manufacturers offer both. Some just offer the 2-inch one. I definitely recommend this. It just lasts longer. This the 2-inch or the 1-inch chest strap in time will fray and it will get really fuzzy quick, especially with a lot of use, and you will have to replace it. It's an easy replace. It's not something super tough to do, but any rigger can do it, but it's going to get really fuzzy and fray easily. Also, if you are a lady, and I will definitely recommend the 2-inch chest strap. This would be really uncomfortable, especially on the bust area. So yeah, 2-inch chest strap, highly recommended. Here you can see in this one as well, you can see the stainless steel hardware. I recommend this a lot because the black hardware looks really nice and it looks super cool, but in time it's going to wear in the parts that have metal to metal contact. But personal preference again. In this one, you can see you have full free fly options in this one, as well as a free fly put here with your tuck tab. That's like what the tuck tab looks like. It tucks into that side panel right there. Keeps everything nice and tight. On this container, you can see that you have contrasting panels and you have different color trim tape. That's your trim tape. The piping, you'll see an option in some in the part where you get to the center panels or whatnot, you'll see piping. This is basically the piping. It's that little separation in between two panels, or what you get on the center panels, like on the stripes, you can select piping. If you get, let's say, only like a single color full setup with no contrasting or anything, I won't recommend adding the piping because it's an extra cost that you're not going to actually look at. So just stripes, or just select each panel a single color. This harness also has spacer foam. In this case, this is a different type of harness or padding, proprietary for Rigging Innovations. Not a personal favorite of this one, but a lot of people seem to like it. Again, magnetic riser covers right there, which are being more and more popular every day. What is the free fly mod option? So this would be this little piece of bungee that keeps your leg straps all the way up when you're in a vertical position or a sit fly, so they don't slide down to your knees. If you don't select the free fly mod, they might not sew those little tabs there. So if you're looking into free flying, this is something I will definitely recommend, as selecting the free fly mod. All right, so here's another example of a UPT vector container. This one, in this case, has a standard configuration where you can see you have different color panels here that you can select from, or select just one color. If you select the piping on this instead of being sewn panel by panel here, you'll have a little bit piping in between. So that's personal preference. In this case, you can see you have the contrast binding tape with the panel, and also this one has custom embroidery. That will be an extra cost. Some options like the standard embroidery that you can see here that is offered by the manufacturer, that also has extra costs, obviously. But if you're looking to put something custom, we will need to get the artwork of whatever you want us to send to the manufacturer, so they can properly quote on placing that special logo or design on your container. This one has pretty much all the same bells and whistles: free fly friendly container, harness articulation, hook knives. Definitely want to select that just in case. And hook knives are all made in a similar way, but each manufacturer has their own sizing for their pocket. So the snap might be a little bit higher or on a longer tab, and from one manufacturer to another. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Black hardware in this one as well. And you can see what I was talking about earlier, how it could wear a little bit in time. But again, these are getting way better every time. So the finishing on these will last a long time. I personally recommend and like the stainless steel, but this looks way cooler too. So here's another example. You see the like I showed you, the spacer foam on this back pad. There's also options, depending on the manufacturer, that you have these a little bit more padded options for your back pad. Again, these will vary from one manufacturer to another, but that's how they look. Usually they're a combination of the padding and some spacer foam. Okay, so that's, you can have an idea of what looks like, what the spacer foam looks like and what the other options look like. Other options like what type of leg pad you want, the one piece or the two piece. So this is what a one piece leg pad would look like. It's just one piece, and then you have the two piece leg pad, which you can see at the hip junction you have two pieces. For free flying, I recommend the two-piece leg pad because, again, you have a bit more range of movement, more comfort in any position. Here you have another example of the spacer foam on an Icon container, how it's all distributed around the stabilizers, leg pad, and your shoulders. Okay, this rig came for service, and here I can show you the example of a metal D-ring. So if you're looking into, instead of having the soft reserve handles, you see that cutaway is always a pillow, and then you have options for your reserve handle. Could be the metal D-ring, could be the free fly friendly soft handle. So these are the main differences on that. This one again has articulation on the chest and on the hip. One piece leg pad with no free fly options. Magnetic riser covers. Again, getting really popular with newer container systems, and I definitely recommend that. All right, so those are kind of the most common options that you will have to check on your order form. Just remember that stuff like embroidery, sometimes depending on the manufacturer, might be included in the base price. Sometimes if it's embroidered with the manufacturer's logo, if it's something custom that you need embroidered, we will need to receive the artwork. So we can send that to the manufacturer, and then they can probably quote on the digitizing and placing of that logo. So it is an extra cost. Also, embroidery on special panels or around the whole container, that is also an extra cost. So as you go through your order form, you will see that our options that either have a little star or have that $sign right next to it. It's because it is an extra cost. Some manufacturers have made like their base Bryce or the base bare bones container systems with most of the extra options at a standard price, and they're included in the standard. Like padding or articulation and RSL. But in some cases, some manufacturers do charge for these options. So just keep in mind that when you're filling out the order form, that these options might be a standard option offered on the container system, or they might be an extra cost. So when it's time to fill out that order form and you find something like that, you're probably wondering,
what the is this piece of?
Exactly. So I'm going to show you how to kind of walk through the order forms, and I'm show you a couple of examples of how to do that. Okay, so here I have an example of an order form for a UPT vector container. I want to show it to you. This would be the paper order form that you can print out and fill out manually. Here you can see pretty much all of the options. So first you have that main reserve canopy. These you have to fill with the type and size canopy you're going to be using for your main and reserve. That way, the manufacturer can make their main and reserve tray to fit those canopies. Here you'll see your container colors. This is for the whole, each number is one panel, as you can see in this illustration here. And then your center flap stripes would be these A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then use center flap piping. As you see here, like I mentioned, do you see the $sign? That means that the center flap piping has an extra cost. And these would be those lines that go in between each panel. You can see here that you have a split color pattern. If you want to go that way, it's an extra cost. Magnetic riser covers are standard. You have the option of selecting that or selecting the tuck tabs. Then you move down and you have the leg pads, color, then you hook knife, free fly mod. If you want the rolled edge leg pads, which basically it's like a contoured part of the inner part of the leg pad, so it gives you a little bit more comfort. You can add that. It's going to be an extra cost. Trim tape color. Remember a trim tape that goes around here that you can select there. Then you have your VGH or variable geometry harness, which is hip rings or the articulation. You can select that. You can see here that is an extra cost. One piece or two piece leg pad, depending on what you want to select. Standard deluxe back pad is plain back pad. There's no padding on it. Then you have the 3D spacer foam, which I showed you previously. That's all black, and you can add that with the padded stabilizers that goes around your hip basically. And those have an extra cost. Then your risers, they offer 19, 21s, and 23s. Louis loops or low drag, Louis loops with low drag. All main risers come with standard dive loops. Louis loops are dive loops that basically pop open and once your canopy is in full flight. Unless you're flying high performance canopy, I would not select this because this is mostly for high performance canopy. So you can just go, let's say you're flying a 170 square feet canopy, the regular standard dive loops will suffice. Then you have the the riser types, a mini ring type 17, which is the narrow ones that mostly are selected for sport rigs. And then you have the large ring or the type 8 webbing. If you're skydiver, a regular, sized, and it's a sport rig, I definitely recommend going with the type 17. Then you have the RSL or skyhook option. Both have an extra cost. Reserve ripcords. Then you have the selection for metal D handle, low profile D handle, which is a smaller version of the D handle. And then you have the soft reserve handle, which I showed you previously. The cutaway handle color, you can add that there. And then you have your pilot chute. UPT standard is a 27-inch, either in F111 in all white or a Surporosity in all black. And some manufacturers, this will vary from 27 to 28. And I will work with the most canopy sizes. Then if you're looking to do wingsuiting or other stuff, you can change that. Then you have your main deployment handle, either the plastic, PVC plastic pipe, which you will see in most beginner or student rigs. Then you have the free fly. Then you have the monkey fist. Then you have your hacky handle. With a free fly tab, if you want to add that has an extra cost, as well as the free fly tab. Then you have the options for your the main deployment bag. You can either go with the standard, which I recommend always, unless you're wingsuiting, and this rig is going to be specifically for wingsuiting. Then you can select the semi-stowless, the V-stow, or the U-stow semi-stowless main deployment bag. These have extra cost, or you can order it as an extra option with the container. So it will be made within a standard main deployment bag, and you can add the V-stow or the U-stow. Then you have some wingsuit options, like the wingsuit bridle, which is a longer bridle, a 30-inch pilot chute, dynamic wingsuit corners, which basically is the lower part of the container on the number 1 flap down here. It basically opens like a tailgate, so you have a cleaner deployment at slow speeds. Then open corners, that's just the old wingsuit style, but that is an option that you can also select there. And then you have stitching, which contrast stitching. You basically the stitching all over the container is going to be a different color than the original color that you selected. JST style stitching is like a zigzag pattern all around the container. And then you can select the black hardware if you want. Then you have some embroidery options up here with color. All that has an extra cost, of course. And then you have your measurement fields, which you have to fill out so they can size that harness made for you. This is the paper form. If you're doing it online on the designer, it's going to look something like this. So you have a standard, you can pick the type of container design that you want. The standard is the one that has all the panels, and you have a split design. Remember, the split designs have an extra cost. And then you have more ways of customizing. But basically, let's go with the standard so you can have an idea of what this looks like and how to fill it out. So you have your Cordura, which is all your panels. So if you select, let's say, do that, and you want all that in black, you can play around with this. And then what I was saying about the panels here, you have, you can select the different color panels and whatnot. The trim tape, let's do it in a contrasting color so you can see that in a lighter color, so you can see how that changes there as well. And the piping is the little lines in between the panels here on your center flap. So that's how you select all that. And you have to select the add piping here on the center flap, so that way whenever you select a color, it will change the color in that small little line in there. I'm gonna put this contrasting color here so you can see it. So that will be your piping. And then your harness color, these are the colors. Basically, whatever colors you see here, it's what it's offered by the manufacturer. The same with colors for the Cordura. And then you have your Cryptek or camos that you can select from, which are becoming more popular every day. And then you have your embroidery options, which you can definitely select and do whatever design you want to do. And then after you finish designing your colors, you'll start basically filling out all of these options. Like I said, all manufacturers have different ways of calling things, but basically are the same. If I show you let's say the Javelin Odyssey designer, if you go into that one, you can see that you have your basic rendering of a container. And then you have the symmetrical design, which is your normal design, or you have a split design, which will add extra cost to your price. Then you have your harness articulation with your rings, your chest rings, and then you can see how it changes up top. If you have hip rings as well, it just adds the hip rings. If you have hip and chest, then you will have the chest rings and the hip rings. Spacer foam, which is what I showed you previously. It is a standard with SunPath. Then you have Paraback, which is an older, you'll see that mostly old style container systems, but they still offer that. If you like that, I don't recommend it because it's really slippery and the container might, if it doesn't fit you really well, it's going to slide all around. And then you have the spine back pad, which is more like a contoured foam filled back pad, but that adds $389 to your price. Then you have your leg pads. You have the one piece or the spine leg pads, which is basically a two piece. And then you have your split colors and your color fields that you can fill out all of that there. And then for options, then you have your cutaway handle. If you want a metal D handle, your Fat Daddy reserve handle, you see how that changes up top. So basically, it's filling out the forms is the same in all manufacturers. They just have some components that they call them differently, but they're all the same. So if you're starting to fill out your order form and you run into any trouble or you're having doubts about an option, give us a call or shoot us an email. We'll be more than happy to help you out and get that order started.
If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to get our latest notifications. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.